Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Echelon Cycling Podcast, where two cycling nerds and one professional cycling journalist, we talk about what's been happening in the week. And of course, this week is a big week. Criterium du Dauphine has happened, and we also have Netflix Unchained coming out, and a bit of transfer speculation as well, all before the Tour de France and Tour de Suisse as well. But welcome, Patrick Blake of Audi Cycling and Mr. Creator himself, Ewan Wilson of The Cyclist. And Criterium du Dauphine, where do you guys want to start?
Well, shall we begin in chronological order? Sorry, this is my job on the podcast, is to keep us in chronological order. So the Criterium du Dauphine began at the beginning of the week. It began with Mads Pedersen taking a sprint win ahead of the rejuvenated Sam Bennett of the Decathlon Age des Arts. This meant that Pedersen went into the yellow jersey for stage 2. If you were lucky enough to see stage 2, you would have seen that Magnus Cort won a sprint in fog. We could barely see the finish. He caught Borna in the final kilometre and beat everyone at the top of Côte de la Loge, not Loz. This meant Cort went into the yellow jersey, which did look quite funny given that Uno X is transferred, which is a little patch that goes on the leader's jersey is yellow, so it's a completely yellow jersey by accident. Stage 3 was an interesting one into Les Estables, which was won by Derek Gee, who went for a last kilometre attack with Romain Grégoire. Third place went to Lucas Nerucker, had a fantastic opening couple days to this race. Stage 4 was the time trial from Saint-Germain-Laval to Neulise, which was won by Remco Evenepoel, who absolutely decimated the field. The nearest GC contender was Primož Roglič at 39 seconds. This meant that Remco Evenepoel went into the race lead. Stage 5 didn't really happen in the end. There was a big crash on the way into Lyon, into Saint-Priest, where we were supposed to have the ending of the stage. That rolled out some big contenders for some big sort of domestiques for the Tour de France. Stefan Kruijswijk ended the race in an ambulance. We also saw Dylan van Baarle go home. Juan Ayuso suffered a crash. He would pull out the following day, but he actually said in an interview that he came down the crash, picked himself back up, and then got hit by other riders coming down in a bigger crash. So bad luck for Juan Ayuso there, but the stage was completely neutralized after this big crash, meaning that there was no stage winner. Remco Evenepoel remained in the leader's jersey. Feel for Tobias Bayer, who was in the breakaway solo at that point. You'd think he rightfully has that stage win to his palmares. Then we went to the mountains, first opening up with Le Col d'Alva, which was won by Primož Roglic in typical Primož Roglic style, with a sprint at the end of a mountain stage. He beat Jule Ciccone with Sasha Vlasov in third. Vlasov, who, by the way, had a fantastic week supporting Roglic. This meant that Roglic took over the race lead with a 19-second lead over Remco Evenepoel. The next day, Roglic Roglified again, this time beating Joe Jorgensen in a closely fought sprint at the top of Samoen's 1,600. Jule Ciccone finished in third with Oya Lascano in fourth. We're going to come back to Lascano. He had a fantastic week in the Dauphiné, as did Derek Gee, who at this point had moved into third in the overall classification. Evenepoel, in typical Evenepoel fashion, wobbled a little bit. He lost some time. He did come down in that crash that I mentioned on the way into Lyon on stage 5 rather. He came down. So did Roglic. Roglic took 2 stages at this point and the yellow jersey with a 1-minute lead over Jorgensen. That is important because in the final stage we saw a real GC shake-up into Plateau des Glières. In the end, it was Carlos Rodriguez who took the stage win in another closely fought sprint with Matteo Jorgensen, who at this point was wearing the white jersey. Derek Gee finished in third place. He actually finished third place overall in this race, while Roglic really just sort of crumbled on this final climb. For a point, it really looked like he was losing this race, but he managed to hold on, winning the Criterium du Dauphiné by 8 seconds of a lead over Jorgensen, with Derek Gee of Israel Premier Tech in third place at a very respectable 36 seconds back. A really good week of racing for him. We also saw Carlos Rodriguez and Laurens de Plus round out the top 5. With Vlasov and Evenepoel losing even more time on that final stage. Also finishing in top 10 once again, Oya Lascano of Movistar, who will soon be moving to Bora Hansgrohe. So Roglic gets his second Dauphiné title after winning in 2022. It's actually his first GC win for Bora Hansgrohe. Well, the last time, as we can say, Bora Hansgrohe have a GC stage win to their name, because in just 2 weeks' time, they will be rebranding to Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe.
There's so much to delve into in this whole week. Derek Gee, I think that's the only sensible place to start. Is Derek Gee now a GC contender? Is he going to go to the Tour as Israel Premier Tech's GC leader? They're probably going to mistakenly send him as a GC leader and not utilise him correctly. He should be used as a breakaway rider. but they're going to be like, oh no, we need to have GC presence, and they're going to waste him on being in a GC position or trying to fight for it, which I think would be just foolish. Sending him a breakaway, so it'd be so much more fun. What do you guys think?
Personally, I think they're going to send him as the GC leader. We know they've been a bit rigid with Michael Woods over the past couple of years. He had a good stage win last year, but that was from the breakaway. And what is your Premier Take 2 best at the Tour de France is breakaway wins. I don't think they should fool themselves into thinking that they are sort of this GC top 10 team. They're not. They've never done it at the Tour de France, I don't believe. And Derek Gee, they'll probably funnel him into this GC role. He'll have a decent first week, but lose a bit of time, find himself in 18th place in GC or whatever. I agree. I think he could be a really good breakaway wildcard. He could be a bit like a sort of Carapaz Vuelta 2022 style, where he goes in the breakaway, wins a couple stages on his own solo. We saw that as well with plenty of riders have done this, where they just search out these breakaway wins in Grand Tours, and once they get the ball rolling, they're hard to stop. That's what Israel Premier Tech have done very well at the Tour de France in recent years. That's how they've taken their only stage wins in this race's history. If they're really active in those breaks, I think they could definitely yield some success. But for G this week has just been fantastic. He got his first pro win outside of the national time trial as well this week, and then that confidence was certainly growing. We knew he was good from the Giro last year. He's shown signs of being decent since then, but maybe sort of the one Tour wonder sort of label was sort of looming over his name. But I think this Dauphiné proved that he is more than a one Tour wonder, and he is someone to really look out for at this Tour de France. And I mean, also in that top 10, Lascano similarly had a fantastic ride. Did not expect him to finish in top 10 at GC, and he did. What does this mean for Lascano's form coming into the Tour de France? He could have a Matej Mohoric 2021 style tour where he goes in the breakaway and tries to get stage wins.
Derek Gee is actually the first Canadian to finish on the podium in the Dauphiné, and I thought I was going to be able to whip out a name that could, third place in the Dauphiné, a name that would kind of be like, oh, okay, this guy finished, well, actually, Guillaume Martin, you could put him as kind of a obscure third place finisher from the 2020 Dauphiné, but that one had all kinds of asterisks on it, that year's edition. Most riders who finished third place in the Dauphiné are quite big names. Ben O'Connor, the last 2 years. Emmanuel Buchmann, okay, he went on to finish fourth that year. Romain Bardet, Dan Martin, Rui Costa, okay, that's a bit of an outsider because he's never really done well in the GC. But yeah, I mean, Derek Gee, I'm not even sure, unless Guillaume Martin, Cofidis, they were World Tour in 2020, I guess. But yeah, they were continental riders. It's not really something that pro continental riders do well in a GC fashion.
Well, Dauphiné is kind of considered one of the top 5 stage races in the world. It's in that sort of special elite category. It's not quite a Grand Tour, but it is one of these stage races to win, and it's a big one in terms of building up confidence for the Tour de France. So this is a huge deal for Israel Premier Tech, who have been, I mean, I slate them, but they have been doing really well this year at the World Tour level. They took Flèche Wallonne as well. Let's not forget they took a World Tour stage race win earlier this year at the Santos Tour Down Under, and they're definitely building on something here. G has to be the guy for the Tour de France, but they shouldn't lead themselves on into believing that he is a general classification leader at a Grand Tour. He was fantastic at the Giro, searching out those breakaways. He should do the same here. If he was getting all those second places as a sort of unknown underdog, he's now had the time to mature and to sort of age like a fine wine into the rider he is nowadays. He can turn those second places into first places. I truly believe, and he'll add his name into that sort of special list of Canadian stage winners, one of whom is his teammate Hugo Hull, as well, from Canada. So this Canadian legacy seems to be, reviving recently.
Because I think, I'm not exactly sure how we all see GC versus stage wins, but I think we'd all agree that taking a stage win is going to be better than finishing. Where would you put the cut-off? If G finishes, where in GC equals a stage win?
He'll finish maybe 18th probably in reality, and I would say like a 10th place in GC. I'd rather have a stage win over a 10th place in GC.
Well, I've said it before, as Alexander Vinokurov once said, nobody remembers 7th place in the Tour de France the following year, but people remember you taking a stage win.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who even was 7th place last year?
I can't even tell you.
Hindley?
I was supposed to be like...
Oh, I think it might be Hindley.
Was it Hindley?
Might not be. We're all frantically looking it up now.
Well, this proves the point perfectly. Is that no one does remember.
People remember the stage wins, exactly, which is why Israel Primož sending Derek Gee as some person to try and fight for a 7th place in GC shouldn't be the priority. It should be to try and get in the breakaways to get stage wins. This is literally proving the point that we, as people who follow cycling very closely on a day-to-day basis, we are literally cycling this, and we can't remember who finished second. So maybe this means we're not cycling this.
It was Hindley. It was Hindley. So we're fine. We're fine.
I remember Hindley for taking the stage win more than for finishing 7th last year. So again, I think it proves the point. I hope Derek Gee gets sent as a stage winner, but this is going to be a tour of discovery for him. I mean, this is completely new ground. Nobody on God's green earth expected Derek Gee to be fighting for the podium in the Criterium du Dauphine this week. So it is just completely new ground. Israel Primož are probably going to be scratching their heads just as much as we all are, saying, what do we do with this guy who's just come out of nowhere, had a fantastic Giro last year, a bit quiet from that point onwards, but has now just burst into this GC position. It seems like such a talent to have, and it's very precious. You're not quite sure what to do with it, but hopefully they don't squander it and ruin it.
Like what we've seen from the Dauphiné and from last year's Giro is that he has good fatigue resistance. Going into this Dauphiné, he got better stage by stage. I know he took that stage win early on stage 3, but he looked really good in the mountains at the end of this race, aging into it. At last year's Giro, he was good in the sort of flatter breakaways, but then towards the end, he was really fighting up there in the mountains. And I think that he has the real ability to sort of have that fatigue resistance to be up there towards the end.
Yeah, it's not very frequent that usually riders nowadays, when they burst into a GC role, they do so at quite a young age. Whereas Gee's kind of a later arrival, I'd say, into the kind of cycling sphere, coming into our kind of perspective as like a top rider. I mean, the last time I really remember this happening was when Jonas was like 2021 Tour de France, when I'm not saying Derek Gee's Jonas Vingegaard, just clarifying, but it's not. You get these random people who seem to.
Whoa! Vingegaard is not random.
Laura
Poland, second in Tour of Denmark. Okay, that was a bit.
Yeah, but he's got this
money
because we have no idea what he's capable of in a Grand Tour. Derek Gee, because we've never seen him do it. We don't know what his capability is. In a similar way, but going into the 2021 Tour, we didn't expect Jonas Vingegaard to be fighting for the podium, did we? But he eventually did. What if Derek Gee is the new GC contender? What if he becomes part of the Galacticos crew? But where is the limit for Derek Gee?
Don't flatter Derek Gee by comparing him to Vingegaard. I think he's more of a sort of Geraint Thomas equivalent. A Gee.
Yeah, it all works.
Well, they have similar backgrounds, and then Geraint Thomas was good in World Tour stage races, and then sort of jumped in at the Tour de France after doing sort of races before, nowhere near being a GC contender, and then sort of at that voyage of discovery, soon aged into it. Maybe Gee needs more time. He needs to do a proper Tour de France GC before realizing what his potential could be. But I don't think we're going to see Derek Gee in the final podium at Paris. But similarly, after this week, I don't think we're going to see Remco Evenepoel in the final podium at Paris. Should we talk about that?
I think we should too.
Just on the Israel point.
It's our Premier Tech point.
Yeah, whatever. We've talked about this a lot, that UAE, Jumbo, whatever, that they're going to finish it with their leader and then their 2-3 auxiliary riders. So then that wipes out most of the top 10. And Israel Primož's team is one of the most, stage race winner focused. Steven Williams, Pascal Ackermann, Derek Gee, Hugo Old, Dylan Turns, and Kies Nederlands. It's like, that is a pretty damn good stage hunting team.
Yeah, it's a really good breakaway team. Chris Nederlands, Steven Williams, they could really add their names. I know I've been bigging up Nederlands for years, and he hasn't quite done it yet. But, he is a great breakaway rider. And Steven Williams had a fantastic year so far. You could only see his potential sort of bleeding into the Tour de France. Ackermann, I'm sorry, it's not going to happen this year. But but this is a good stage hunting team, and Maybe, given that they took a breakaway win in 2000, well, they took 2 breakaway wins in 2022, 1 last year, and this year they might be like, okay, this is the plan. We now go in hoping for stage wins instead of trying to fool themselves with a GC ride. Because, sometimes if you focus too hard on GC and you don't have that big number one leader, it doesn't work out. We've seen that so many times in the past. It'll be interesting to see where he goes. He might completely just, bomb. The Tour de France might just not suit him. We've had them before where riders have come in very hyped and gone nowhere. He might be one of those, but I hope not.
Okay, Remco Evenepoel, like you said, I think that is a very good point to go with. We all know Roglic. We don't need to go there. It's kind of covered all ground. But last year, we were talking about Remco Evenepoel quite a lot. Me mostly. Why did he do his debut last year? Because he left the Giro retire early. The Dauphiné, the Tour de Basque Country, crashing there, that was terrible. Broken collarbone, I think it was. And then now the Dauphiné, coming down in that crash on stage 5, didn't look great. I think he was in a much better position last year if he debuted there. But nevertheless, what's his chances of winning? Is he in trouble?
Yeah. Yes, he is. I think he's in trouble. It's just, he played down this week in the media beforehand. And obviously that was not a lie. I don't think, I don't know, because he crashed. So therefore, we don't really know if he was playing a bit of a media smoke and mirrors beforehand. But he was playing down his chances before the race even started. And as far as I saw somewhere that he's just wanting to take a stage win in this tour, which, let's face it, on that first TT, he's probably quite likely to do so because of how he looked against the top time trialists in the world in the Dauphiné TT, considering that Ghana isn't going to be here. He beat Tarling and Roglič. I mean, I know Poggy's here as well, obviously. Yeah, I think Remco's got a good shot of winning a stage, but in terms of GC, he was good at dropping, but not completely capitulating. He just seemed to have matured in that aspect. Like this Dauphiné, he dropped earlier than most people, but went past other people who tried to hang on for a longer period of time. But it's not boding well that he was just hemorrhaging time these last 3 stages. You can imagine this scenario, but it's the last 3 stages of the tour. And, it's stages 19, 20, 21. And he's, the fatigue set in, it's 3 weeks of racing, and, his handicap's just going to be bigger. The mountains are taller. It's not looking great at the moment, it must be said. But he is one of the best GC riders in the world. And he does still have 2 weeks to get over this crash. He doesn't seem too particularly affected, hurt by it. So fingers crossed he's going to be all right. But it is a little bit concerning from a GC aspect.
It is concerning. Evenepoel has done the Paris and Dauphiné, underwhelmed them both. Yes, he took that stage in Paris, the final one where he was really trying to put time into Jorgensen. He couldn't do it there. Then here at the Dauphiné, he just was getting dropped and just not looking quite great, to be honest. What I've noticed with Evenepoel as well in past years is that he can be bad at the mountains and not be quite to form, but still put in another worldly TT. He can bang out a great TT and win that stage, but then once the race is the mountains, he's gone again. He's down. He's gone like a stone, and that happened again here. I'm not saying he was gone like a stone, but he was beaten by Derek G, Sasha Vlasov, and other guys that he needs to beat in order to win the Tour de France, even reach the podium or top 5 of the Tour de France. Evenepoel has not impressed me so far this year. I know he had that crash in Alula, but even before then, in the Algarve, he didn't beat Danny Martinez in the mountains. He needs to be beating people like Danny Martinez in the mountains once we come to the Tour de France. Because
second place, Danny Martinez in the Giro d'Italia this year.
Yeah, but Danny Martinez is a luxury domestique for Primož Roglic all other times of the year. And to be honest, I do not think we're going to be seeing Evenepoel on the podium in Nice, not Paris.
Polka dot jersey.
Potentially a polka dot jersey. That would be, he's got the Vuelta one. He knows what to do.
And if he wins then the stage in Nice, then he would be on the podium in Nice.
Oh, yeah, true.
What do you mean?
I didn't think about that. Yeah, okay, yeah, true. Or he could be the super combative, who knows? But
true.
We can't second guess that. But I just don't think he's got it in him. whilst other riders are doing altitude camps and not racing before the Tour de France, Evenepoel, after the Dauphiné, is going to an altitude camp. Then he's flying to Belgium to do the national championships. He's the only one of the big contenders flying back to his home nation to do nationals before going to the Tour de France. Is that necessary? No. That's my hot take. I love the Belgian national champions jersey. It's cool with him wearing it, but he does not need to go and defend it when none of his other rivals are doing so. He's adding an extra day of racing into his legs. He's adding all that travel from his altitude camp, which is probably going to be in Spain. He was in Spain beforehand. He's going to go from Spain back to Belgium to Italy. It's a lot of traveling. It's not a lot of resting up and sort of altitude, taking it easy before the Tour de France. Whilst Poggi is going to be doing that, Jonas is going to be doing that, Roglic is about to go to Tignes for an altitude camp. All I'm saying, Remco's doing a little bit different.
Yeah, I don't really get it. Like you say, why go and add in? Like, is he doing the road race or is he just doing the TT?
He's only doing the road race, so not doing the TT. He's only trying to defend his current title.
The road race is just inherently filled with more risks of crashing, especially. I mean, I'll say that. Did he crash in the TT last year? The Bells. That's bad to say, but I think he's almost just like putting it in as like an excuse. Well, not an excuse, but just like a fallback of, I didn't do great. It's like in his mind, he's almost said that I'm not going to win the Tour so bad, or I may as well go and win Belgian Nationals to just like get something. Because I don't think I'm going to win the Tour. It feels like lost before he's even rolled out of Florence.
I agree. I have a feeling he's going to drop in those first mountain stages in the first week. He'll be very present in the first couple of days, try to be up there in the mix, completely fall out of it in the mountain stages in week 1, but win that time trial in wine country, because he is probably the best time trialist here. And even when he's feeling bad, he whips out a great time trial, and I'm feeling that's going to happen here. I just don't think he has it in him to rival Pogačar and Vingegaard, and that might be hard for some people to sort of accept. But I think it's true.
Where do you think Remco's going to climb on?
Exactly.
I'll go with...
Or say what he's going to do, so you can add in stage wins as well. So,
okay. I think he's going to take 2 stage wins. I think he's going to come 8th.
I had number 7 in my head. He's going to finish 7th place in GC, win the time trial in wine country. I don't think he'll win the Nice one. I think the Nice time trial will go to Jonas, Roglič, or Pogačar.
I'm going to say Poker jersey, nowhere in GC, and wins 3 stages. And nobody said the white jersey. I think he's still qualified.
Oh, yeah, but who else? I guess, yeah. I guess de facto he does win white, doesn't he?
Yeah, Jorgensen.
Yeah,
C-Rod.
Yeah,
true,
Rodriguez.
Yeah. I said last week, I was like,
Ayuso.
Finish on the podium. No, not Ayuso. I screw.
He's just been too yo-yo, I think.
Nah,
and he's not really a leader. I think Rodriguez could beat Evenepoel in GC.
And he also got such like a hard on to try and get that white jersey. You just know it for a matter of fact. They want to be on that final podium with white jersey.
But this leads us into another segment. Ineos' strategy, at least at last year's Tour de France, was not optimal for Carlos Rodriguez. So I'm a little bit worried they're going to put all their eggs in the Tom Pidcock basket. And Tom Pidcock did this interview the other day where he was very bullish once again about leading the Tour de France, and he dreams one day that he can win. Thomas Pidcock, please pop your delusional bubble. This is not going to happen, and you need to work for your leader. Unlike last year. Should we talk about Netflix? Well, Tour de France Netflix Unchained, whatever it's called.
Go on, you've written an article about it, so you know more than Patrick and me.
Okay, so I was lucky enough to watch Tour de France Unchained Season 2 a week early.
Who wins?
Jonas Vingegaard. But you can read my full review on cyclist.co.uk. There I give the juicy details, a lot of quotes. I wrote like maybe 10 pages of notebook pages on of quotes from the series. There are some zingers. This is a much better series than the last. I will give you that. It tells the story of the GC far better. Of course, that's because we have access to Vingegaard and Pogačar, which we didn't really have in Season 1. Vingegaard was in Season 1, but it was in this kind of awkward situation because he wasn't meant to be one of the featured riders, and he just kind of like jumped in halfway through. and everything was kind of recorded after the tour, so it's a bit sort of awkward because he knew what was happening. But then this year it felt a lot more sort of organic, and you had all the big different characters up there. Adam Yates isn't really touched on. He has a bit of a sort of spotlight in stage one when he wins that stage, but he isn't really spoken about for the rest of the show, which is a bit of a shame. I feel like he was a bit untapped in terms of the narrative there. But I'm alluding to Ineos Grenadiers with my previous point. Ineos Grenadiers, in an episode titled "The Enemy Within," it documents this big sort of battle between Tom Pidcock and Carlos Rodriguez. Pidcock, who's, to quote myself, I say that Pidcock doesn't always come across as pleasant. Often his bluntness appears brash, abrasive, and at some points braggadocious. He is sort of, there are some things he does. At one point, he's confronted by team staff because he's not working for Rodriguez, and the GC plans aren't working out. Once asked if he would work for Rodriguez, he says, "I'm not sure. Can you turn the cameras off?" To which the scene ends. And then later on as well, he completely ignores team orders on the Grand Colombier and attacks Carlos Rodriguez, which meant that he shed crucial time. At this point, Rodriguez was not far off the podium. And then the day after that, he's sort of saying, "Oh, well, I'm going to attack on a descent and try to go for the stage win." And that stage was actually won by Rodriguez, whilst Pidcock ended up losing a lot of time on that stage. Rod Denningworth described Pidcock as having a ruthless winning streak. There was also, interesting episode, episode 6, which is all about, it's called Dominance. It's all about Jonas Vingegaard's time trial performance on stage 16 and the Col de la Loze on stage 17. It does replicate the tenseness beforehand. We didn't really know how it was going to go. People were saying, Pogačar's is going to gain 30 seconds. People were saying Vingegaard's going to gain 30 seconds. Then we see the rides. And afterwards, there's this quite bitter tone, I think, that the episode goes into, where it sort of alludes to scandal and doping and controversy. And a lot of the French riders have something to say about this. Valentin Madouas of Groupama Français des Jeux says there is no truth in cycling in response to it. He also pulls a face as well before when he reacts to the news that Vingegaard won by 1.5 minutes. Similarly, Similarly, Marc Madiot of Groupama Français des Jeux as well. He said, "There are undoubtedly still some cheats in cycling. That's human nature." And also Thibaut Pinot as well gave a pretty sort of cold response when asked about doping. The episode ends with a new villain, Richard Plugger, who enters the series. Richard Plugger, who says, quote, "There's a lot of attention on Jonas, so he tries to divert the attention from it to distract a little bit from the riders to something else." It's a bit of a broken sort of quote, but that's how he said it in the show. And what he is referring to is Beergate. This is documented well. The final episode 8, where you see the feud between Richard Plugger and Marc Madiot. This is because Richard Plugger sort of created a media storm in L'Equipe. The day after Jonas Vingegaard's crazy time trial, he was worried about all the allegations against Jonas, so he decided to hit at Marc Madiot by saying that Groupama Français des Jeux were drinking poison, that referring to beer, on the rest days. And Marc Madiot does not take to this very well. Not at all. Marc Madiot says that he did it, Plugger did it for the polémique, to create a scandal within the sort of media circus of the Tour de France. And Marc Madiot definitely takes this to heart for the rest of the episode. You can see him sort of jokingly drinking beer at the dinner table for the rest of the Tour de France. They cheers Richard Plugger. And, I mean, the Jumbo staff don't seem too happy about it either. The Jumbo fans are booed as they go through Virage Pinot, the special Thibaut Pinot corner, which, by the way, you see on the show, you see his brother and his family all on that corner. That was quite a big bit of the episode that focuses on the Thibaut Pinot corner. But as the Jumbo car goes through, people are throwing beer, they're booing, they're throwing stuff, they're spitting at the car, and the Jumbo fans go, "Thank you, Richard." So you could tell that everyone was a bit frustrated with what Richard Plugger said. Marc Madiot even said that he took them for clowns. Also, on the briefing before that 20th stage, Marc Madiot sort of released his frustration, saying, "When your legs are to ache, they'll ache even more when you think about those assholes and what he, Richard Plugger, said about you." Which, I mean, was a pretty sort of damning quote for him to give. However, Marc Madiot has the last say in the whole show. Spoiler alert. Episode 8 of the series ends with the following quotes. I want to show Richard Plugger that real cycling is about men, the effort, the goosebumps, connecting with those around you. Yes, he won, Richard Plugger and Jonas, but winning isn't necessarily the most important part. Pinot, without trying, conveyed something else. He ended with the public's love. And I think that just encapsulates the drama, the energy, and sort of the joie de vivre it captured in Tour de France Unchained Season 2. There we go, debate.
Why is there only 8 episodes?
There were 8 episodes in the first one.
Oh, okay.
They're all about 45 minutes long. The shortest one is 38 minutes long. It's actually, I would say, the most powerful one. It's called For Gino. It traces Matej Mohoric and Pello Bilbao's quest for a stage win for Gino Mäder. And Gino Mäder as a theme and as a character does appear posthumously as well, I guess. The whole series begins in the first episode with a very personal sort of sequence. Ben O'Connor is out at a training ride and he gets informed about the news that Gino Mäder has died. And O'Connor and Mäder were close. They were former teammates as well back in NTT and Dimension Data days. And O'Connor just it really hits him. It felt almost too personal, too invasive that we were seeing him find out about the loss of one of his friends. And you kind of go around the peloton later into that episode and you hear what everyone's thinking. And there was this great quote as well from Mohoric at the end of the episode in honor of Gino Mäder saying, I hope he's proud looking down from the sky, that in response to Pello Bilbao's stage win. And you could sort of say, you can tell that the team wanted that, they needed that. It had not been an easy task for them to get into the Tour de France. Pello Bilbao and Gino Mäder rode very closely for a couple of years beforehand as well. They were good friends, and Pello sort of says that he had that extra motivation, and they could hear his scream back home in the Basque Country when he crossed the line. It just that was that great exaltation of joy, but also of grief. I think the show really sort of handles this difficult topic of grief within the peloton very, very well.
How's the Jonas versus Poggi thing? Is that kind of shown as more of a good ride, like the rivalry and the grandiose? Is it shown quite well?
Yeah, so I believe Steve Chanel, who's one of the talking heads, describes it as a psychological battle in the show, and you can see early in episodes 1 and 2 that psychological battle. You get a little bit of a more behind the scenes sort of discussion about when Wout van Aert smashed his bottle on the ground at the end of stage 2, and you can sort of see Adam Yates and Pogačar joking about that. You really get inside UAE, and there's a big contrast. Andre Hauptmann, who's the sort of top dog at UAE for Pogačar, he's very calm on the radio, very sort of cool, calm and collected. But then you see sort of Jumbo-Visma cutthroat, shouting, sort of more ruthless in their communication style, and the team seems a lot more tense. That might be the editing style. It might just be the way that they've been portrayed in the show, but UAE does seem a little bit more laid back as a whole. And it is interesting to have the sort of the dichotomy between the two portrayed, because in that first one we didn't get into UAE at all. So this one you do really get to see those two riders. And also as well, on the flip side of it, when Vingegaard eventually attacks and completely wipes out Pogačar on the Col de la Loze, you get the insight into how Pogačar's feeling, and you can sort of see him sort of reliving that grief. But he's kind of like, well, these things happen. I'm human after all. I can't be there every single day. Sometimes you have off days, and I think that was quite sort of human of him to do so.
Yeah, and it's the age wrist injury I brought into it as well.
Yeah, so the first episode is sort of, it sets the pathos for a lot of the riders. It's sort of we have a sort of wasted 20 minutes of following Richard Carapaz because we have this whole bit where we go to Carapaz and see him training. Voster's just like, yeah, we've risked so much for Richard. He's the most expensive signing we've ever had, blah, blah, blah. And then you see him crash on stage 1, and then you go to the hospital with him as well and find out that he's broken, whatever. And your heart bleeds for Carapaz, but he's not he's not mentioned at all in the rest of the season.
I mean, I bleeds more for Voster, not for Carapaz. Voster's whole budget just went down the sink.
And what also is touched on is the investment side of it as well. Like Walters talks about investment side and how he had to sort of convince people to pump the money into the team and how it's hard to convince them when you don't have your leader at the Tour de France, and as well into the Age d'Isère episodes, because we follow Ben O'Connor and Felix Gall in Age d'Isère. O'Connor was really the team leader going into that race. Gall was kind of an accident. And O'Connor he goes through this big ride of emotions throughout the series. At the beginning, he seems really frustrated. He's annoyed on stage 5 that the team handed the victory to Hindley because they worked with Hindley in the breakaway to get Felix Gall the stage win. It didn't happen in the end, but they were quite close, and Gall jumped up the GC in the process. But you see, like, the team are unhappy with O'Connor. They're like, the sponsors can't justify paying this much for a guy who can't deliver. And you see that sort of business side of the racing more than you did in Series 1. But it's definitely a step up. I think as a whole, it's very good. And you don't have to watch Series 1 to watch Series 2. I think they're kind of separate entities as a whole. But
I hope everyone, including Patrick and I, enjoying listening to that bit of insight into what's happening. Obviously, we're all going to watch it as well. But you mentioned Ben O'Connor, so we might as well jump to that part. Ben O'Connor, in transfer news, is linked to Jayco Alula, of all places. Simon Yates, out of the door. We spoke about that. But what do you guys think of Ben O'Connor to Jayco Alula, and is there any substance to this? And does this maybe tie into what you said, Ewan, that AG2R maybe not thinking he's worth the investment? Great at the Giro, though.
Yeah, I think it almost makes sense. It feels a bit odd, but it just seems like, it's the Australian team. It's one of the biggest Australian riders. So therefore, it makes sense, doesn't it, that O'Connor would go back. It almost seems weird that he hasn't. It feels like, in my mind, like Mandela effect. Like, I feel like he's been there at some point in his career, but he hasn't. I think it makes sense, especially after that Giro. It's probably been a bit of a break point for the decathlon at Age d'Isère, because they're probably like, we really kind of need to finish on the podium there to be worth it. Like, fourth place just doesn't really cut it, especially in the field. Like, you would have thought O'Connor would have been able to beat Martinez. No offense. So I think that was probably just a bit of a break point. And then similarly, we haven't really seen much of Simon Yates. I think he's down to do the tour, so he's going to need to do another good tour this year, I think. But I just think those are definitely two riders who are on a little bit of a short tether with their team.
Yeah, Simon Yates not on the Dauphiné start list, not on Tour de Suisse. I cannot find Simon Yates' whereabouts online.
He's on the tour list, though.
Yeah. He's on the Tour de France list, but he hasn't raced in a while, which is a bit
Tour of Slovenia.
Strange. Is he going to the Tour of Slovenia?
I don't know. They won it last year with Zada.
They did, but I'm not expecting Yates to go there. There's no other Tour de France contenders there, and he has said that he wants to go out on a sort of bang and a high at the Tour de France with Jayco Alula. It's surprising. The team have invested a lot in him. They've given him a lot of faith and hope. I worry what Jayco Alula will become without him. I guess O'Connor fills that void, but Yates is linked to Israel, Premier Tech, and Astana, Kazakhstan. It depends on
Astana. Go for it, Astana. We need more Brits.
But Astana they might have Chinese investors. We don't know. They're looking for new finance, and this week it came out that it might be from China, but people have said that that's not true. They need money, and they need money for Yates. UAE have already said that they're not interested in Simon Yates. So we're not going to see a sort of reunification of the twins. But honestly, if Yates went to UAE, that would be mind-blowing. That would be just too much. But O'Connor, it does make sense. From what I saw in Unchained, is that the dynamic seems a bit strange. He has these kind of franglais conversations with the team, where he sort of says how he feels in English, and then they reply in French, and he says it in English again, or they have this kind of like weird dynamic, and he kind of has his own personal trainer on the team that he gets to talk to personally, but then there's a bit of a cognitive dissonance between himself and the management staff that aren't this Irish guy who's works for the team. Can't remember his name, something Stephen Barrett, I believe it is. But it just seems very odd. But he also reveals in the series that he genuinely believes that he can make a podium of a Tour de France, which I don't quite believe that. But he seems convinced of it. He seems 100% convinced that he's going to make the podium of the Tour de France one day. And to be honest, I think he's going to be just as good at decathlon than he is at Jayco. Decathlon's got a lot of really good riders in the moment. They've got momentum. Maybe that momentum will help him stay. But maybe Yates out the door gives O'Connor a really good platform to target a Tour de France at Jayco Alula, where he might not have that with Pant or Gal, for instance, in the Tours de France to come. Gal signed an extension at the end of last year, and O'Connor might just be wanting to switch it up a bit. Ashdazar was never really the plan. He didn't have a contract. His team folded at the end of 2020. He desperately needed a new contract. He deserved a new contract. Ashdazar gave him that. But it wasn't necessarily his number one choice. But now he has more choice. He has the right to negotiate it. He's been brilliant over the past 2 years, just sort of missing that edge at the Tour de France. But he's a guy who's finishing the podium at UCI World Tour stage races. He's solid. He's reliable. And I think Jayco could do with that.
I think we would all sign him now if we had a World Tour team.
Yeah. And it's just a natural progression of things. All Australian riders all eventually end up at Jayco Alula.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Richie Porte didn't.
Did he not?
No, I don't think he did. In terms of Simon Yates, yeah, Ewan, you wouldn't know this, but on Transfer Talks, Patrick was trying to start the rumor that Visma Lisa Bike would sign Simon Yates.
I did see this, thank you very much, because I was confused at why his face was in their thumbnail, so I had to watch the video. But, yeah, I think it could work. I'd like to see it happen. It could be funny.
Season 3.
Oh, yeah, true. Oh, gosh. Season 3 is going to be based on this year's Tour de France.
Oh, think of season.
Stupid. 2025.
That's if the show lasts that long. It should.
You've just crushed Ben O'Connor's hopes, and now you're crushing not Drive to Survive, Unchained. No, Drive to Survive on bikes.
Yeah, pretty much. What other transfers are there to talk about?
And that's it, I think.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Let me go and cheer Scunny Emilio's Twitter because I saw one over there. That's going to bother me. It was one that was going to happen. That who was it? Tour de Pro cycling for Alaphilippe.
Oh, really? Well, that'll be cool. Bit of a total energies.
Yeah, and also, Tudor also, they've got Marrakesh as well signed for next year by what we're believing. So that's going to be interesting. What other ones did I see?
And that would be a problem, though, because then they're going for the same kind of races.
Yeah. Pellizzari is going to move to Bora on August 1st.
Pellizzari is moving already during the season.
I think so.
Oh, my goodness.
By the looks of it. And Emo Buchmann has interest from UAE Ineos, the French team. Emo Buchmann would be amazing at UAE.
Just another mountain domestique. Yeah, he would work there. Yeah, that's not cool. I think Hershey fits like a glove at Tudor. That needs to happen.
Yeah, well, according to Cheetah, Scott Emilio, very, very trusted source, Hershey is considered a done deal. That seems to be kind of, sealed and dealed. Alaphilippe, not quite so sure. I know he was sort of using the Giro to renegotiate, and he had that stage win, which played out to his favour, but I'd rather see him there than Cofidis.
So true.
The Tour de Suisse on the Swiss theme. Actually, it hasn't started because the first stage was in Vaduz, which people will know is the capital of Liechtenstein. So actually, it hasn't started.
Wise.
I have this weird plan to go to every European country by the time I turn 30, to which I need to visit Liechtenstein. But
it's nice. Go. I like it. I like it a lot.
I was about to say something mean about Liechtenstein.
No, it's really nice. It's really nice.
I was going to say, but that looked boring. But that's one that I need to take off. So I'm quite sad I didn't get sent across to the Tour de Suisse this year. Maybe next year. But it was a little flat prologue along bike paths.
It's the only flat part of this route.
True. It's an awful Tour de Suisse in terms of mountains. There are no sprinters here. But
actually, Tobias Lund Andreasen, for whatever reason, is getting punished by DSM Firmenich and has been sent to this race.
That's it.
Oh my god! Yeah, but Cam, you get it because he's going to the Tour, so maybe it's like using it as altitude training in a way.
Yes, but the first stage went to Yves Lampaert, who took his first win since the Tour de France 2022. Second place went to Stefan Bissegger. Third to Ethan Hayter. Almeida looked good in fourth.
Did you say Ethan Hayter?
Ethan Hayter was in third.
Yeah. Remember him?
He's just the most yo-yo guy. He needs to leave Ineos to go somewhere else. That's not good. No, he should not go to Cofidis.
Jayco Alula.
No, I think he'd be cool at like a Bora.
They can't have 50 riders, Ewan. They have to cut off at what is it, 30 or 28?
Yeah.
They're now signing every child in the world. They've turned into one of those teams. Yeah, some decent names here. Adam Yates is starting. We also have Skianamoza, who's returning to defend his title. But this will be, I mean, this runs through most of next week, which is a little bit close to the Tour de France, but it'll be, I mean, really hard. But I think I read somewhere that the Gotthard Pass is not being used. Is that correct?
That was like one of the focal points of this race.
Don't quote me on that, but I thought I read that one of the crazy bazillion altitude stages had like...
Yeah, for context, it's also a cobble climb at certain sections, so that's quite cool about
Oh, it's that one, yeah.
Yeah. Egan Bernal went up that.
When we did the preview, I was just like, oh, it's the cold one. I was like, oh,
it's that one, yeah, that one.
Adam Yates, literally an hour after we recorded that, was confirmed by UAE. So there was nothing about Adam Yates in the preview.
Oh, I'm glad you say confirmed to be riding that, because COVID is back, ladies and gentlemen. COVID has ruled some guys out of Dauphiné, so I'm glad you said he is confirmed on the start list and not confirmed with COVID.
Legit. It doesn't even matter because Almeida's going to win towards Suisse anyway. So,
Del Toro's there.
Ooh, 1, 2, 3 in UAE.
Yes, but Del Toro was like 40 seconds today because apparently he went the wrong way at the final turn, which I don't know. I don't get how you do on a prologue which has like 4 turns in it.
Oh, to be fair, the corners looked really difficult. I did watch it earlier on. It was a very sharp course, but
yeah. Somebody put it in the comments because I don't. And maybe he just followed like the deviation with the camera bike. I don't know. He lost like 40 seconds today, even though he was good in the first time split. He was only like 3 seconds down. How
we got Carapaz here, Egan Bernal is here, Blast from the past. But most of the contenders are doing the Dauphiné. You know who looked good in Dauphiné? Giulio Ciccone. Sorry, side note.
When he got slapped by Roglic.
Okay.
Again.
Yeah, but like he was up there. Like it wasn't. Yeah, we're up against Roglic, who's one of the best finishers on those kind of stages. So it's not.
Yeah,
it looked good.
Yeah. But then Ciccone looked really good last year.
It did.
I need to win a stage.
Yeah, he did win polka dots. Maybe he'll do similar this year. The Tour.
Yeah. Him versus Remco for polka dots. That's going to be the 5% true.
Ooh, I would back Ciccone on that. Sorry, that's the last word I'm having of this.
Anyway, rider of the week. Who wants to go first? Who's picking Derek G? Nobody.
Primož Roglič. Sorry.
Fair enough. We also have the Tour of Lithuania as well, where there was plenty of Danish wins. So just for context, that can be used.
Okay, well, that'll be your pick.
I mean, the Tour of Lithuania actually had quite good broadcasting. I'll give him that. But I was not watching. I don't think many of our viewers were. No offense, Lithuania. But whoop whoop, Roglič is going to be my rider of the week because he won Dauphiné, won 2 stages. People said he was done after that TT when he didn't sort of quite deliver. You know, this is Primož Roglič. If he crashes in France, he doesn't win. But he crashed in France twice and he still won the race.
No, I completely agree. I think he is a big contender for the podium. I will pick Derek G. It's criminal that somebody has to. So I will, because I'm fearful that Scott's going to pick some random Danes from some Tour of Lithuania.
It's not Tour of Lithuania, but it is a Dane.
I'll go with Derek G. 3rd place in the Dauphiné. Absolutely, just completely caught us all off guard. Nobody saw this coming. Beat so many big names, and I think we're all excited to see what he can do in the Tour.
Well, I was considering too. I didn't even realize that the under-23 Giro d'Italia has started as well, and the opening stage was won by the next name of Swedish cycling. Yeah, I know there aren't many, but Jakob Sundqvist. We've talked about him before. This Lidl Trek under-23 rider is the next big thing out of Scandinavian cycling, I think. But I'm not going to pick him because it's only stage 1. So I'm going to pick Alexander Selby, who won a stage of the ZLM Tour. Danish sprinter riding for Bingo. So, yeah.
Scott.
Yeah.
He beat Gleb by doing that. You are picking fights because I will take a bullet.
Who's Gleb? Never heard of him. Never heard of him.
You've definitely heard of Gleb.
What has he won? Anything?
He won 3 stages of the Tour of Langkawi. Please sit your ass down and listen. This man is the future of Russian sprinting. All 85 kilograms of him. He's just 24 years of age, and this man is going to be Mark Cavendish's lead-down man for years to come into retirement.
Is he going to go to the Tour? He's 24 years old.
No, he's not. But a man can dream. A man can dream he's going to make that.
He did quite well, actually. He finished 6th overall in the ZLM Tour. 2 second places. Why didn't you pick him?
It's too predictable. It's far too predictable. I'm a big Club Spirits of fan.
Got to keep the people on their toes.
But anyways, with that, that's basically it for our 71st episode here on the channel. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and check out all our different Twitters in the description down below. We'll be back next week, a week closer to the Tour de France, so we're all excited for that. But with that, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next week.